Hey guys, so I have a question. The question is, what do we mean when we say intonation? Intonation is one of those words that at least I'm saying for myself, even, I don't, not even, just I don't. And it's a hard, tricky thing to define. Sometimes when I think a word is going to be difficult to understand for myself or for the class, and I know another seminar I took many years ago, decades ago, they would literally do this. They'd have somebody look it up in the dictionary, and they would read the dictionary definition. And you'd think that would be too elementary to do. But sometimes it gives us a better grounding of it. And this is a word that's intonation and pitch and a couple of other things in that neighborhood. I have a hard time with them. I really do. So let's look at intonation. I think obviously I'm getting tired. I think the definitions in the dictionary are not very helpful, but I can tell you what I know about intonation. I looked up an intonation, then I looked up the word intoned, hoping that would help. Didn't help a bit, but let me share it with you. I'm going to try to do it quickly because these clips go by pretty fast. Intoned by itself or intone says to write, to recite in a singing tone, to utter in a monotone. That's the transitive verb, and then not to get too anal here. And then the intransitive verb is to speak with a singing tone, or with a particular intonation. So one of the things I was always taught as a kid is if you're going to define a word, don't use the name of the word. The word in the definition doesn't help, obviously. So what I know about intonation is this, and there's a good example somewhere. Actually, there's a good example in the definition of the word intonation. The example's in the quote. I'm using the free dictionary online as my source. And in the quote, I'm looking for again. Here it is. It says a use of pitch characteristic of a speaker or dialect. And the quote is, he could hear authority, the old parish intonation coming back into his voice, which apparently was a quote from Graham Greene. So that gave me a good idea about how to explain this to you, which is if I'm standing in front of a seminar, a physical room of people, I'm conscious of the fact that I'm, an entrepreneur, somebody who has to transmit to these people that I have street cred, in the field, been doing it a long time. And I do that, in all the standard ways, like I have a biography, a corporate biography that would joke a horse, I did this, I did that, I jumped over the moon, I gave 300 trillion thousand speeches, and most of them I did standing on one foot in the middle of, the ocean or some ridiculous hyperbole. But when I'm speaking to them, there are times in which I can interject some kind of intonation that shows authority and insight, and a good speaker does that. Some people do it naturally, some people do it not naturally. They've learned it, or it's a technique, or obviously it's more natural if it's natural. But um, and the way I do that is I sort of stop my sentence just a few nanoseconds, and then I say something very definitive, a little bit different tone, a little more serious, a little more pointed. I try to get the eye contact of someone in the room with more authority. You know, like I might say, a couple sentences, and then I might say, I'll tell you one thing, this is really how it is. It's a fact. Now that's not, there's lots of kinds of intonation. You can be pleading with someone. I mean, I live in a neighborhood where there's lots of street people, and I like to make fun of everything, and God forbid I should make fun of anybody in a politically correct society like ours, but I don't do it in public much, although this is public. Um, so I was making fun of someone one day. It wasn't necessarily a street person, just someone. And I did it in private by myself, and I just exaggerated the way they present, their material. And that type of learning for me, that I like to use hyperbole a lot and exaggeration. That kind of learning for me helped me train myself to have a certain kinds of intonation and to be fast on my feet, changing them up when needed, whether it's authority or whether it's not authority or whatever it is. Okay, we may go over some more of this. I don't feel complete. If you took the other class, you know what I'm talking about. I don't feel complete about the way that I've communicated this to you. So we'll work on it some more. So let's say that we're going to stay in this conversation about intonation. Be right back.